Hi, my name is Emma Hamell and I'm 15 years old. I've been dancing for 8 years and this is my 3rd year at Evergreen City Ballet. And this year I'm Clara in our Nutcracker suites. Today I'm with New York City Ballet Soloist and Broadway performer Georgina Pazcoguin, who is performing as our Sugar Plum Fairy in our Nutcracker suites.
Hello, dear. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am very well. Thank you for taking the time to interview me. I'm super excited to see this weekend's shows. I have some catching up to do on the other weekends. I know that this has been going on. Turns out still a busy holiday season for all dancers, huh?
Yes, surprisingly. So my first question is, how have you continued to stay inspired during this pandemic?
I have stayed inspired, kind of diving into some other skill sets that I'm wanting to improve upon. When I was injured, I took on camera acting classes, and that really, I felt it was so interesting to learn how to perform within the parameters of a screen rather than like a big stage. So I've been doing lots of research on that front, obviously a lot of TV watching, but not just for the narrative part of it, but to understand and find out, what actors I'm really loving, what techniques they use, and also just really loving films that have been shot beautifully, which is why I was so interested in this project and super honored that Benny asked me to join you guys in your Nutcracker docu presentation. Just I love dance on film, so getting to study this a little bit throughout the process has been just the right amount of creativity, inspiration to pull me through at least.
That sounds so fun. What kind of things have you been doing to stay positive?
Well, I am not one for being really diligent about self-care, and this time of slowing down has forced me to make that a priority. So, keeping positive, just like I take a lot of bubble baths and I really love them. I take a lot of baths during a normal season anyway to help recover, but this just a bath for the sake of having a bath is in the middle of the day too, just like in a random afternoon after I've done my little like household bar, like my ballet bar, and I've tired of moving the furniture all over. That's just little things. Lots of reading too. There's been some really really wonderful books. I'm currently reading Neil Gaiman's. It's not an anthology, but it's like a collect-all of a lot of excerpts from his many books. And he's such like a fantasy writer. So like to read Neil Gaiman is to lose yourself in a fantasy like the Nutcracker. So that's been fun too.
How did you make it to New York City Ballet, and what is it like dancing with a company as large and as well known as New York City Ballet is?
Dancing with New York City Ballet it's truly a joy, and it's such an exciting, just we move so fast at New York City Ballet, just even compared to other big companies. Just our sheer amount of work, we'll do like 20 or 30 ballets a season, which is just nonstop. But how did I come to New York City Ballet? Well, when I was little, we did these kind of weekend performances. They were called regional dance festivals. And that's where I met Suki Shore, who taught a master class through the School of American Ballet at a regional dance festival that took place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And she had mentioned that perhaps I should audition for the School of American Ballet. Now I have one of my best friends, Tyler Angle, his brother had already left for School of American Ballet. So I knew about the place. I just had never been to New York or visited the school. And then so I auditioned. I was offered a scholarship, which was mind-blowing to me. And I first started at the school. And then that's where I saw New York City Ballet dance for the first time. And going into that theater at Lincoln Center, everything's very, the proximity to each building is very close. That's where I really had this experience in the seats watching, Balanchine's company and what's so special about these dancers.
I think that's awesome. I mean, I've seen pictures of Lincoln Center, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful stage that would be amazing to perform on. So I think it's cool that it took going to the theater to really just like find that that's where I want to be. I think that's a moment to have it click.
Yeah, I think it's such in the space. And, I recently did a lecture dim. I was allowed back into the theater during the pandemic. And obviously things are much different. Like they don't have the black wings in, so that the theater stage is not as big as the Metropolitan Opera stage, but it's pretty big. And so they didn't have any of the wings that sort of make it even more defined. So I walked out onto this bare stage in this like crazy big house of like, 2,500 seats or so. And I think that there's something to be said about being in a theater setting, and that energy as an artist is, from the musicians to the dancers that day that were like the very few people that were around. And that energy is palpable. So, I mean, we might be able to get our fix of dance on the screens here in this time, but I can't wait for the moment that we all can be back in a theater setting and we can have a real live audience, because that really is where I think the magic of dance, any performance, really happens.
I agree. I love performing on a stage, and I definitely missed getting to do Nutcracker on a stage, because that's one of my favorite parts about it, is getting to do it on 3 different stages.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just one of my favorite parts about it. So speaking of Nutcracker, what is your favorite Nutcracker role that you have gotten to perform? And is there one that you've wanted to perform but haven't gotten to?
I think my favorite Nutcracker role to perform, and it has been since the age of like 12 or 13, has been Dewdrop. There's something about that 5-minute piece of music that just, it's like a full arc and swell of like romanticism and excitement. And I don't know, I just, and I've spent many years in City Ballet as like a core flower. And then getting to perform Dewdrop at City Ballet, there's this one moment where all of the flowers make a line and you get to run through them and impart them. That has to be one of my favorite moments on stage of all time. Like, it's just so much fun. And then to answer your question about what role have I not, I believe it or not, I have performed most roles. I would love to eventually debut Sugar Plum at City Ballet. That's definitely a goal. But in terms of like fun roles, if we're gonna open it up, I think I'd make a pretty good Draw Somewhere.
Love that. That's awesome. We were doing our interviews for our Nutcracker film, and you'll probably see it when you watch it, but one of the little girls said that her dream role was to be the Rat King.
I love it.
Yes, I love that. Like,
because they're fun roles. So you get to do something totally different.
Yeah, you get to totally explore like a different side of performing, like not being a dainty ballerina, like being a rat.
Yeah, that sounds super fun.
What is your favorite scene in Nutcracker?
I really love the snow scene. And it's not just at New York City Ballet. That is beautiful and stunning. And I think that music at that point in the score where the Nutcracker turns into a prince, and in our production at New York City Ballet, it's just a bed being like rolled across the stage. But some of the most phenomenal music I know a lot of productions have like a snow queen and a snow king. It's a beautiful pagoda. I think that, but just overall, no matter what it is, that is probably my favorite scene of Nutcracker.
I love that. It's such a pretty scene to watch,
Yeah.
even just from the wings. Like
Yeah.
I like that scene too.
It's like the most underrated music. You know, everyone plays the Sugar Plum variation or like the Tray Pack, the Candy Cane variation.
Yeah, yeah.
Like those are like such well-known pieces of music, you know, that are in the Nutcracker. But it's for me, what really takes me on a trip is that whole beautiful score of the snow scene.
That's awesome. I love that. What is what was the hardest part of recording your Sugar Plum variation?
Oh gosh. There were lots of hard parts. I mean, like, I'm not fooling anyone in the sense that, like, it has been 8 months. Like, taking a especially for New York City based dancers, it's been very hard to find space to be able to take a full class. And yes, I have a bar here and I have Marley on the floor and I can take some, but it's not the same as taking full class every single day. And I feel that. And so there's a certain amount of vulnerability one feels when you're leading the entire cast. It was hard for me to kind of put my own self judgment on the shelf and be like, this is representing something different, and trust in the fact that like I do my training that I have done every day is going to pull me through this. And then also just I think when it comes to the like just the technical parameters of filming a piece, you know, you have to do things more than once and make sure, and that, you know, sometimes you like hit a pirouette like perfectly for, you know, lack of a better example, and maybe the cameraman didn't get it and you're like, ah, now I have to try it again. But so those are probably like the hardest things. But I must give a shout out to my friend Morgan and her partner Ryan. They were such wonderful collaborators in this, and obviously my partner Alex and his partner Jonathan. Like we had such a very safe group. Speaking of COVID, but like just a wonderful group to be in a room for like, you know, 6, 7 hours putting together something that I hope you all will enjoy.
I'm very excited to see it. I've been waiting the 3 weekend. I guess it's only been 2 weekends, but it's felt like longer to see it. So I'm very excited. Do you get nervous before a performance? Like, how do you cope with nerves?
I think I do still get nervous, especially if it's something if I'm debuting in something, or we do like a world premiere, a ballet that's never been seen before. That's a full adrenaline ride. How do I deal with the nerves if I'm feeling them? You know, it's not by fearing this feeling that you have in your body. I kind of view it as, and could just because, you know, I'm a Sagittarius, I like adventure, but it's this bubbling up of joy. I like to imagine that like the adrenaline, those nerves is like joy that I'm very excited to share with the audience what I've been working on with, you know. And I think it's okay. I think if I were to ever get to a point to not have nerves, I would be sad, or something. I would know that something's wrong. I think that, and I think it's just like, I think we get nerves because we care and we want to do our best. And I think nerves can help us. And I think it's just about reframing what this feeling is, that not, it's not a, it's not an indicator that we're going to be out of control of our bodies. It's only an indicator that our bodies are coming along the ride with us in the performance.
Do you have a pre-performance routine?
So I like to warm up stage left, like all the time. I like stage left. I live on stage left. Don't ask me why. I also tend to tie my pointe shoes at least twice. I guess that's turned into a routine now. Like I have to tie them twice. Like I'll tie them, tuck them in, and be like, nope, let's do it again for good measure. And so yeah, that's just kind of become something that I do. And then I guess another pre-performance routine is that I like to get down the stage with enough time to look out from the wings and see some of my other colleagues performing. Because, it's as we prepare, like kind of tagging off the question about nerves. It's all a game and reaching adrenaline. Like we are athletes, right? And so you want to like amp yourself up to do a good job. We need that adrenaline. So part of that process for me is watching my friends who are already at peak adrenaline. Like I know I'm not there yet. But I to watch them to be like, that's what you have to look forward to. And then just kind of like that helps me cater where I need to be just in mind and heart and presence.
How do you think about ballet as an art form?
I obviously love it. I wouldn't be in a company for nearly 20 years if I didn't love it with all my heart and soul. There I think every arts institution is suffering greatly right now, and that really bums me out. I want ballet to not only survive this, but I want ballet to be a revered art form here in the States, just like it is in Europe, and to be more of a cultural passion that's interwoven with young kids in public schools. You don't have to do ballet to love ballet. You don't, and I wish ballet would get to the point where it didn't have this connotation where it's like only for people of a certain status and only for people who have a lot of money. I think ballet is for everyone. And I think we are working institutionally with like artistic directors like Benny and lots of other friends and changes that we are finding ways to make ballet more inclusive in every spoke, from ticket sales to casting to just experience in what we put on our stages in general.
I think it's cool that we've had like the virtual options to like get to watch the other ballets. I had a friend who was all excited because I can't remember what ballet company it was, but she had always wanted to see her Nutcracker, and she had the chance to see it this year because they did it virtually, so she was able to see it. And so I think, yeah, I agree. I think we're really making progress.
Yeah, I mean, you make such a wonderful point, and we get to watch. Normally, we're stuck in our little families of our little ballet worlds, but we also can learn so much from watching other people dance. And so we're not only just watching our colleagues or our friends dance in our schools, we're able to watch other people dance across the globe so much easier. And I think that's been really beneficial for me as a professional, as I'm sure it is for you as a student too.
What advice do you have for aspiring dancers?
Be gentle to yourself right now in this time of just struggle. It's really hard to be an artist right now. It's really hard to be a dancer right now. You waking up and doing your ballet bar in whatever space you have available or your commitment to class, that is a huge accomplishment. In a normal scenario, you might not acknowledge it as such, even though it still is an accomplishment in that scenario too. I think we just need to slow down and be able to recognize that the process of becoming a ballet dancer involves a lot of criticism. We're always trying to hone in our technique and dance better and fix things. But I think we also, in this time of just having to make additional sacrifices, we should just as equally acknowledge the positives and the gains and to try to focus a little energy towards that, which is not always the mindset of a little ballet dancer who's trying to, keep moving forward. Yeah, I think that would be the advice I'd give in this time.